Welcome to Navigating to Success. I'm certified focal point business and executive coach Jeff Carlton, and I'm pleased to have Mark Qualman with me from QuEst Services Corporation. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, out of Billings, Montana, fellow Montanan for now. Tell us about QuEst and what you do.
I basically am a commercial construction manager. In other words, the focus of my business is the pre-construction cost estimating, helping budgets stay in alignment with design intent so that you can make data-driven decisions on budgets instead of emotional ones.
I like the term data-driven decisions. A lot of people don't do that. Um, so who are your clientele? Who hires you? The builder, the end user, the architect? Who?
Most predominantly, my clients are owners and in Montana, I do a lot of owners representation for school districts. In other words, I oversee make sure that the contractors and the architects do what they're supposed to do for the school district. So I'm their eyes and ears, their construction expert. They hired me as their construction expert, so to speak. But I also do work for architects as a cost estimator to make sure that their initial sketches are have an accurate budget behind them again, so that they can make accurate decisions going forward. So they don't have a bunch of redesign to do.
And how? So that struck a chord with me. How interesting is it, or how weird does it get when you're working with an architect that's in a different part of the country that's dealing with material costs in Montana?
Um, and I do projects all over the United States, and I've lived all over the United States before I started my company. I also keep in contact with a couple of the top 10, um, I guess, cost managers, construction cost index managers all over the country, so that I continue to keep a pulse on what materials doing. And that I've got relationships with subcontractors and suppliers in my local market to keep my finger on the pulse as well. But it's definitely something that has to be taken into account in this economic climate. It's gotten a little bit better since we're a couple years past COVID, but during the COVID pandemic, it was wild.
Oh, yeah, $70 for a sheet of OSB. It was crazy. What? Uh, so one other question on that thread is, inflation outpaced the ability to build because a lot of people, I think most people would make sense, but building is a layer upon a layer upon a layer. If you frame it up and sheet it and sheet rock it and everything. When you have a really large project that was originally bid, especially government projects, so this ought to resonate with you. You go out, you get an original bid, uh, concept, and the construction timeline is maybe 2 or 3 years. What happens when the cost of materials have gone up 30% from the original bid and pushing the go button?
Well, in my business, when I do an estimate, I have to estimate it in today's dollars. And then at the end of the estimate, to recapitulate things, I have to look into the future and get some sort of sense on how long it's going to take to design it, how long it's going to take for the funding to get to place, and how long it's going to be until they actually are going to put a shovel in the ground. So then I've got to apply factors for material and labor, subcontractor markets on top of that, so that they can capture changes in the market like that. So that has
Right.
to.
I mean, we've seen in Montana in the last 3 years, I think we've seen entry level wages almost double.
And
Um,
that's the problem today. It's not so much the material. Material is fairly stable, has stabilized. It's not skyrocketing. It's actually coming down a little bit. The problem is in exactly what you said, the labor. A lot of these companies don't have enough skilled tradesmen to be able to do their work. So in order to keep the good people, they have to pay them way above government wage rates and wages like Davis Bacon rates. They have to pay higher than that to keep the people that are there. There's just not enough people available to fill their needs.
No, wow, we could talk about that. And, Gen X, Gen Z going into the trades as opposed to going to higher education. That's a whole program in itself. Ton of stuff out there, but it's a very challenging landscape for the for all industries, honestly, but especially the construction and trades. I mean, you can't find a plumber, an HVAC technician, or an electrician anymore. They're just
Right. I
um,
was seeing if you can believe this, and I don't know if this is it means anything to you, but I was finding on school renovation projects, high schools, the mechanical and electrical systems were costing $100 a square foot, which is outrageous. It's three times what it was 5 years ago.
I don't know if I paid that much money for my house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. So, are you a solopreneur, or how big's your team?
Well, that's something that's a little bit unique about my team. Like I said, I've worked all over the country. I've worked for top 10 general contractors in my career in the past. So I've developed relationships over the years. I've got five or six people that are able to estimate and manage the different civil, structural, architectural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trades. I can plug and play them as I need to. So when I get a project, I know what my needs are. I'm calling my bench and saying, okay, I need you to do X, Y, and Z for me. And they're salary people. I pay them a salary and I pay them very well because it's not full time. But that's how I'm able to. They're loyal to me because number one, I pay them before they're as soon as they get done. They don't have to wait. And I am comfortable and confident that they know what they're doing because we are the same mindset. Most of us are builders. We're not just people that sit at a desk and look at blueprints and put estimates together that way. We understand how things are built. So
How long did it take you to build that team?
I would say it took a good minimum 10 years, more close, probably closer to 20, just because over the years you meet people with the right personalities and the right the same mindset as your own. And those are the types of people that I trust and know how they're going to look at things the same way I do. So
Yeah, it's and I asked that question for the to get the answer that you gave is that it's not something that you go, oh, I'm going to go and form a commercial construction consulting company and I'm going to have this team at my disposal in 6 to 12 months. Um, you're in an industry that you had to cut your teeth. I'm guessing that you probably started out with a something with a handle in your hand that rhymed with hammer or shovel.
actually, no, I've
Really?
always I've always been on the estimating and the project management end. I've spent enough time in the field to know what's supposed to be done, but you wouldn't want me framing your walls out. So um, but as far as building your bench, you've got to continually rotate that bench and build it. For example, last week I knew a real seasoned mechanical person was getting ready to semi-retire and switch jobs. And so I reached out to him and said, oh, congratulations. You know what I do. Are you interested in anything in the future? And he immediately sent back, says, yes, I am. Keep me in mind. So he's on, I got another person on my bench now. But it's just when you develop those relationships, they're almost they're as important as clients because you've got to have the right people doing the work with you to be able to execute for your clients to keep your clients.
I think that's a really great point. Is that it, and it's building your team. No business is successful. I mean, let's look at if you're watching baseball or you're watching football. You can have the best quarterback in the NFL. If you don't have a team around him, he can't do anything. We
Right.
see that time and again with quarterbacks that come into the NFL and they get creamed for 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden they're performing the way we expected on year one.
Right.
Building the team is absolutely critical. Um, what about retaining the team? Do you have any issues with that?
Um, well, as far as retention go, you always keep in contact with them, and if people are looking at different times in their lives or different situations, that's why rotating people in. I said rotating people into your bench is important. That's why you always want to try and find the next guy, and get them ingratiated one way or another. Get them incorporated into your work so that let's face it, a lot of times I could be get a big $100 million project tomorrow that they need numbers on, and I got to be able to count on having a bench that's going to do that, or I'm going to miss out on a $30,000-$40,000 estimate. So
So, what's your let's talk about as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, business owner with a team. You know, it's a little bit of a hybrid. How's your tempo? How's your work life balance and all that?
well, mine as the owner is probably a little bit more lopsided than it probably should. In other words, I'm always available. Thankfully, my clients understand that too, and they don't try to bother me too much. And I respect people's family lives, and that's why I've got more than one person for the trade, so that I don't want to overload somebody. So if they're going to get burnt out, that's the last thing I want. So I try and spread that work around. But if you don't have a good work life balance, then it's going to affect your work. And the way I look at that is, you look at somebody who's got real depression. When they have a situation like that, the only thing they focus on is that depression. So everything else takes a back seat. I'm not saying people get depressed, but if they're focused so much on work, they can't pay attention to their home life, to their kids, to their wives, and things like that, and it's going to cause a problem. So,
Yeah.
and I'm been remarried now for 6 years, so it's really made me take stock of my work life, and I've still got children at home, so I always make time for them. Um, it's just something you got to do.
Wise words. Yeah, those those piano recitals and football and baseball games don't happen twice. They don't happen twice. So don't miss the ones that you can afford to not miss. The work will still be there. That's
Yep.
very wise words. So what do you look like in 3 to 6 years? What's your strategic plan? Are you on a growth that's sustained? What do you look like?
I am actually in 3 to 6 years. I'm going to phase into retirement. I'm 65 years old, believe it or not. So I'm taking care of my best clients. I haven't turned any work down yet, but I'm going to be very selective about what I do in the next couple of years. And then probably my plan is actually to start doing some residential development. In other words, not flip houses, but sort of build a little rental portfolio and fish for a while.
It's a good goal, sir. Fish for a while. I like that.
No.
So, what happens to QueSt then? Are you looking to divest it and sell it, or are you just going to kind of dissolve it and let people go their ways? What's
I,
your
I don't
future?
have, yeah, there was a gentleman a few years back that I've have a very good relationship with that almost came on as a partner. He couldn't take the leap of faith, which I understood. And he would have been about the only one that I would have uh, let continue on with the business. I'm probably going to dissolve it because um, I don't, and this is going to sound conceited, but I don't believe that there's people out there that do what I do that have the social skills to develop the relationships and keep everybody happy. So I'm probably just going to, sort of divest it. I may do some. I may be on somebody else's bench then for some side
Sure.
work. So But it's probably going to be one of those things that I just say enough is enough.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, you are the business,
Yeah.
and it's a tough business to be in. And congratulations on being as successful as you are. Parting shot before we wrap it up here. What is one piece of advice you would give to a first year or inspiring entrepreneur business owner?
Find find people that you want to be like, and get be a mentee. In other words, get them to teach you what they know. There's guys out there that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that would love to give their um, information and education, all the knowledge they have, parted onto somebody, and it doesn't cost anything. It's for the taking. If somebody's interested and has got the drive and really wants to do it, it's available. That's what I would recommend somebody to do.
I couldn't agree more, and that's a great way to close this out. And I say this on almost every episode, or at least every other episode, is don't walk this journey alone, folks. We're cooperate to graduate it. We're in it to win, especially out here in the Western Plains and Intermountain West. We're about building communities, not just making money.
Right.
Mark, thank you very much for joining me. Any parting shots before we wrap it up?
No, I appreciate it, Jeff. Interesting format that you have, and I look forward to seeing more of your episodes and following along with you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And for everybody that tuned in this one, another business journey explored. We'll see you next time on Navigating to Success. Thanks.